Jay here for Stretford, Paddock. That's Joe Smith. This is the Paddock Podcast. We're live. You know what to do. Get involved in the comments and the chat. We're going to be talking about VAR.
Again.
VAR. Yeah. VAR. Yeah. Video.
Assistant.
Added.
No.
Reconnaissance.
That's the one.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's the official title for it. Because it's in the headlines and everyone's losing their mind about it again because it's rubbish and it's upset the Scousers.
Yeah.
Which, if you want a reaction from any fan base, then Liverpool Football Club, they're the people to go to.
Yeah.
Because once they start getting decisions going against them, all bets are off.
It really matters then.
Yeah, it does. I mean, we'll get into all that. We'll go through some of the statements, some of the apologies we've had from PGMOL. We'll go through some of the decisions, what's going on, and also we'll bring you back to Manchester United because we're the most important football club in the world. And also, another thing we'll get into as well is his Liverpool statement, which is
bizarre,
a threat.
But weirdly may sort of help things longer term. We'll see.
We'll get into that.
Yeah.
When you say help things,
yeah,
what do you mean? What would help things for you?
Well, I mean, I've been saying this for ages. A year, I don't know how long more.
I think you've been saying it for at least 10 years.
10 years. Since before VAR came in,
yeah.
VAR's got to go.
You did. You said that.
I mean, I don't want to sort of tread over old ground too much because we've got so much new stuff to talk about, which we'll get into.
Stuff.
But it just isn't helping things. It's not helping the sense of injustice. It's not helping the sense of excitement in the games. You don't walk away thinking, well, you know, we couldn't celebrate that goal, but at least we got the right decision. No one's saying that. No one's thinking that. And while it may have, you know, on the whole, we probably get less errors now than we used to.
Per capita.
Per capita. The errors that we do get are more egregious because 4 people have had 90 seconds to look at them. So, you know, it's like it doesn't make any sense. You can understand one person making a mistake when they get to see an action once in full speed. I can see why people make mistakes. Football is a game of mistakes, right? What I can't accept and what seemingly no one can accept is a referee, an assistant referee, 2 people in a van and infinite replays making those same mistakes.
Yeah.
That is unacceptable. And when it comes at the cost of being able to celebrate goals because you think one way or another they're going to find a way that this didn't count, anything that's marginally offside, any sort of pushing and shoving in the box, any time that there's anyone sort of stood near a defender, maybe an elbow, maybe a tug, maybe a blocking a vision here or there, you expect them to find a way to potentially rule that out, which means you can't celebrate, which is terrible, which is the single thing that should be protected most in football is the joy of a goal going in. And I said this a couple of weeks ago. That's the best thing about football. That's really the only thing about football. That explosion once a week, or you know, hopefully more than that if his team score more than 1 goal. But every week on a Saturday, you get to have the best fun of the week. That joy of a goal going in is the best moment of your week. And when that's cut in half or less because you don't feel like you can celebrate, and then you go, oh yeah, you can celebrate. Yeah, that was good, but not as good as it would have been. Then that can't be happening. We can't, you know, sacrifice that at any cost, I think, unless it's, you know, utterly terrible. There's no reason to put that on the line, and that's what they've done. And it's not making anything any better. And there's this sense of controversy every week anyway. So what is the point in keeping it?
I agree. I'll get into some of the comments and then we'll go through some of the inconsistencies we've seen so far with VAR over, I think this is just this season actually. Is it? Are they all this season? I think there might be one that's not. We'll get into it anyway.
Yeah.
Loads of people in the chat. BMW Racing 1974 says, hello, Joe. Hello, Jay. Hello, Joseph.
Hello.
Ross Murphy with a load of emojis. Santa Notch says, VAR. Ross Murphy says, you can just carbon copy it. Last week's podcast, yes. Witterbird says, good afternoon. Hope you are all well. Thank you, Vicky. Hope you're well too. Flashburn 52 says, it's not VAR that is the problem. It's the poor standard of referees. Nicholas Walker in the Super Chat says, surely Liverpool's threat will influence referees' decisions.
That's what I wanted to talk about in a little bit.
Yeah, you're going to mention that and you're going to get into that because we've seen this from the Liverpool playbook before from Jurgen Klopp. Call out decisions, referees, whatever, and then that tends to help things go your way in the future. Abhinav Verma says, I just think Liverpool will get decisions their way, but I want it to help us as well. Yeah, I mean, there could be a happy medium here where everyone gets what they want. I don't like VAR for one reason, and you've nailed it. I mean, there's lots of reasons to hate it, but the one reason that really does my head in about it is lack of celebrating. Yeah. It ruins celebrations. And I know I repeat myself a lot on this channel and about this subject, but there's been circumstances that just stay in my memory, like the Chelsea game when VAR was first brought in and we won 4-0, not fully celebrating what would have been the goal that sealed the win for us, because I thought Rashford was offside. I was waiting for that VAR because I had it burn it into my brain, and it wasn't. Me and you been on a watch along where you didn't fully celebrate, and you were saying, no, I think he's offside as VAR, and there wasn't. But you didn't, the moment had gone. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. For that instant sort of celebration. And that's the saddest thing for me, is you don't have the sort of the ability to just let yourself go now, because there's little part of, well, there is in my brain anyway, going, is there going to be a decision here? Is there going to be is it going to be pulled back? Even for goals where you don't know it's anything. I didn't see anything for Johnny Evans versus Burnley.
No.
I didn't see a thing. I literally thought he scored. Yeah. I was shocked when it was like, oh, hang on a minute. I thought, why? What's gone on? Yeah. Now, you might argue that actually Rasmus Højlund did infringe, but certainly didn't seem like at the time, and it was a celebration that you're like, yeah, and then you think, oh no, VAR, what we're doing. Yeah. And it just sort of spoils it for you again, and it's just to the point now where it's like, that was like a little reminder, don't celebrate too quickly, because no, there's always something.
I'd love a stat, and I don't think we can get this. You'd have to go through things, and maybe someone has this stat. I'd love, however many years VAR has been involved. Let's say it's been 5 years. Yeah. The most recent 5 years compared to the 5 years before VAR arrived, how many goals had been overturned? I would love that stat, the percentage of goals that were overturned before and are now overturned. Because it seems to me that the number of goals that are overturned now is dozens of times more. Certainly, it's far more prevalent to see a goal overturned for one reason or another, isn't it? Yeah. Like, obviously, goals were overturned occasionally. People pushing or pulling in the box, the ball goes in before they overturn it. Goals got disallowed. There has to be so many more disallowed goals now than there ever was. But partly because, like you've said in the past, or partly because they're seeing things for the first time, which makes sense, but partly because they now let things go when they know they're going to overturn it because they're not quite sure. So not only do you get all of the goals that got missed in the past now being overturned, you also get those extra times where the referee or the linesman knows it's offside, but they don't put their flag up just in case they're wrong. The ball goes in the back of the net, you cheer, and then that's overturned as well. It sort of compounds itself. We see more because they're being discovered, and we see more because the refs are allowing more goals to go in that they know full well is going to be overturned. So you get to the point where this sort of Pavlovian conditioning where as soon as a goal goes in, I get stressed. I don't get excited. I get nervous. I know. When you see those dogs, those videos where the dog stood at the French doors and the door's open, but it refuses to come through, and it's pouring at the open door because it's ran into the glass door one too many times. So now it daren't even go through when the door's open. That's me when a goal goes in. I'm stood outside in the rain, pouring at the open French door, shitting myself because I think I'm going to get my nose hurt if I run into it. I daren't celebrate. It's gone worse than just like, when a goal goes in, I go, how's this going to get turned over? It's it's genuinely a shit feeling. A goal going in brings me more stress, or almost as much stress as it does joy. And then you have the few seconds where the checks are over, and then you celebrate. And that is worth what? A quarter or at most half what you used to get in terms of that joy of celebrating. Half as much. The only times now I feel safe is when it's a penalty, but even then, someone could have stepped into the box. Like, there's nothing that's safe. 2 passes ago, Bruno Fernandes gave someone a dead leg. No goal. All right, let's just not watch football anymore, shall we?
Have you ever seen the film Big Daddy with Adam Sandler?
I have, and I've seen it so many times that it's sort of burned into my memory, certain scenes of that. Yeah, it was one of the few films with on video.
Do you know he shares that flat with Jon Stewart at the beginning?
Sorry, I've never seen it.
Oh, have you not? Right. He shares a flat with Jon Stewart, and they're having a surprise party, and he walks in, they all do surprise, and they realise it's not Jon Stewart. Yeah. And they're like, oh, and then Jon Stewart walks in, and they do a half-hearted one. I'm like, oh, we wasted the good surprise on you.
Wasted the good surprise.
That's what it's like with football and VAR and goals. It's like you're wasting the proper celebration sometimes on things that aren't a goal, and then when there is a goal, you're not doing it full because you're like, so it's just ruining it.
So if that bit's the VAR thing, what in football is the bit where he wheezes the bed and then he puts newspaper on it? What is that?
That was our performance against Brighton.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, good lad. It's like Andrew Corbett 96 says J Point re 1999. Cup final, Champions League final incoming. It's true. We wouldn't have had that win over Bayern Munich the way we had it if VAR was a thing. I don't care what anyone says. Joe C says VAR was intended to prevent the truly egregious mistakes, not decide whether someone's is in a millimetre offside. Abdullah Ibrahim says, ever since Klopp and Lampard mentioned us getting penalties, we hardly had any calls going our way. All objectivity has just disappeared. Resonating Silence says, we need technology that gives a player a mild shock if they receive a ball in an offside position. And he's put in brackets, tongue-in-cheek.
That'll learn him.
Yeah, just need a sniper.
Yeah.
And if you're in an offside position, just shoots you. Yeah. Colin Felix says, scrap VAR and reinvest the money in stocks for refs. I don't think he means stocks and shares. I think he means like stocks where you throw rotten fruits at them.
Is refereeing at grassroots level and paying refs more than they get paid. That's what I would say. And
have you been listening to Henry Winter by any chance?
I haven't actually. I saw they wrote a list, but I didn't read it. I've been saying that for I've been saying it for well over a year. Refs need to earn more money. Yeah. That's how you fix this. Who wants to be a ref? And when you see this stuff as well, do you think the scrutiny of refs has decreased since VAR came in? No, it's just now. It used to be 1 ref per game. Now 4 refs per game get absolutely dragged through the mud on social media and in the newspapers. It's even worse.
We'll go through Henry Winter's list and then we'll go into some of the decisions that have gone wrong. So Henry Winter says, BBC asked me for 5 points to improve VAR. I got to 6 and counting. He said, play audio live in grounds, giving greater transparency of decision-making process. 2, improve refereeing standards by investing even more in grassroots, including training up and fast-tracking academy rejects. 3, introduce semi-automated offside. I thought he was going to say semi-automated weapons there at one point. 4, introduce VAR specialists. 5, limit travel of officials in 48 hours before Premier League game. There's a bit of intrigue there. We'll get into that later on. 6, change rules to allow emergency intervention in 10-second window post-restart.
Do you know number 3 there? Read that to me again.
Introduce semi-automated offside.
Okay, didn't mean to say that. Read number 4 for me again, please.
Introduce VAR specialist.
Now, what is a VAR specialist? Is that correct me if I'm wrong, this is my understanding of that is, that's a sort of a kind of human-robot hybrid that's been grown, pod, uterus, whatever you want to call it, from the ground up with a VAR headset on.
Yeah.
That is just playing kind of replays of all of football matches from the big dawn of television, 1910, all the way to modern day. And they have such a sort of complex, robust understanding of every rule of the game that they can just be sort of flung onto the pitch, wheels for legs, drive around, getting every single thing right. Is that what you're saying when you talk about a VAR specialist? Is that sort of semi-organic robot hybrid that's been grown from the ground up to be perfect at VAR?
Potentially, yeah. I think that's... Because I just think that what he's done there, he's summed up society.
Yeah, because I tried to make one of them.
Yeah.
I got a live chicken, took all the feathers off it, put it in a sort of lukewarm bath of custard.
Yeah.
Covered the room that it was in screens. Do you know like that dome in Las Vegas?
It was bird's custard, by the way.
Yeah, it was bird's custard.
Obviously.
Covered the room in screens like that dome in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
And just pummeled it with Barclays.
Yeah.
Absolutely couldn't
unadulterated Barclays.
It was a sort of a visual foie gras-ing effect where I absolutely force-fed it Barclays until it could it could ref, I don't know, the World Cup final. It was that elite. But then the bird, obviously, short lifespan, dead. Ate it, delicious.
Shame, but at least you got a good meal out of it at the end. I think this whole thing about introduce VAR specialists, it's just everything's a referral.
Yeah, I know.
It's just like I'll go and see someone else. They'll be out. Anything you do now, you just get referred to someone else who's gonna help you. Like, I can't sort that out. Let's get someone else to do it. Well, I'm not the referee. Go to VAR. Well, go to VAR. No. You need to speak to the specialist about this.
Yeah.
It's like, what am I doing getting my car fixed? Or exactly. Or are you going to just give us a decision? So I get where Henry Winter is coming from, but it does seem a little bit like we're just going to keep passing the buck or sort of kicking the can down the street, if you will.
Could I offer, I'm not necessarily saying I would like this, but just to open a concept to you that has never been tried, as far as I'm aware in football, certainly not in modern football, the concept of retroactive awarding of points.
Oh my God! No,
what do you make of that? Mate. I don't like it, but do you think that could fix things? Absolutely.
That is not. I know you're putting the question out there. That is the worst thing that could ever happen to football. Right? Because you're not only talking about celebrating a goal that's not a goal. You could be talking about leaving the ground thinking, we've just won that game. Happy days. We've won the league. Going out, getting levered, going home, waking up the next day and finding out that actually there's a review, post-match review, and they've decided to give the points to City who've actually won the league and not you. Like, that'd just be horrendous. You need to know when the game is finished, and I don't mean the Brighton game where there was a full-time whistle and then there was a VAR decision, we got the penalty and we scored and won the game. I mean, once the game is officially ended, those points are the points that have been awarded. Not, we're now going to go to the court of arbitration to find out who's won a game. I think that would be...
Because we have a concept. The concept of points deductions is accepted and a working thing in football, isn't it?
Yeah.
What about the idea of points additions?
I mean, I think it'd open up so many issues as well. Oh, my bet's come in. We've won. Oh, I'll just spend all my money. Well, actually, we've had a review and your bet might have come in, but you now owe us the money we paid you out on that bet because you've no longer won. I just think there'd be loads of issues with it. Like, I understand your point. And also, it'd be like, instead of investing in a top striker or a top goalkeeper, let's invest in the best lawyer. Let's get beat every week, but argue our case in the court so we can get all these decisions reversed and we can be given the points that way. I think it'd just make a complete mockery of it. I mean, it's that awful of an idea. Don't count it out. It'll probably happen.
Yeah. Well, because you see a lot of things saying, well, it's not going to get us the points back, but we'll do it anyway.
Yeah.
I won't,
You saw it, like, the closest we've come to seeing something like that attempted was Sheffield United, when West Ham stayed up and they got relegated, and Javier Mascherano and Carlos Tevez came into West Ham through slightly nefarious means with the third-party ownership. Didn't look 100% legit. Helped to keep West Ham up. Sheffield United went to the courts and said, look, this wasn't fair. This wasn't within the rules. We should have stayed up and they should have gone down. And it went all the way, I think, to the High Court, and the High Court said, look, it's tough. Basically, it's tough. You're probably right, but we can't just go reversing relegations because they've broke the rules, even though we should. Like, I just feel that would cause more problems than it'd solve.
I agree.
Right, let's look at the inconsistencies in VAR. Then I will get into some more comments because there's loads of people in the chat. Right, this year or this season, I think this is this season, unless I'm getting it wrong. There was Spurs, Tottenham's Romero handball versus United. No penalty. We spoke about this the other week. Arsenal get a penalty versus Tottenham for almost the identical thing.
With the same player.
Romero, again, if anything, the United one was worse because I think against Arsenal, it was closer to him when the shot came in. There was less opportunity for him to get out of the way. With the one against United, it was Garnacho from the edge of the box. Shot came in. He's put his arm up in an unnatural position, blocked a shot that was going on target, no penalty. Then we have Rasmus Højlund against Arsenal's Gabriel. Again, you look at it and you think, that's a foul. Yeah. That is a foul. Anywhere else on the pitch, you probably get a foul. Not a foul, not a penalty. VAR doesn't give anything. Ward handball, United versus Crystal Palace. Again, this is the one from the weekend. Dermot Gallagher, who's that bad, he makes Peter Walton look competent. On Sky, was saying how Ward's hands were tucked in. No, they weren't.
His hand was here.
Yeah.
Out to his side.
Now, you might argue that it's a bit harsh to give that as a penalty because he wasn't looking, he had his back to it. It's his hand rather than him putting his hand towards it, whatever. But, I mean, I don't even know what the rules are at the minute. To me, it looked like an handball. I thought it was an handball. But
that's like saying, I got on the plane and I didn't have to buy a ticket because I didn't have my wallet on me. It was like, yeah, but you need to have your wallet on you. Yeah. You can't just look away and go, well, it hit my hand, but it's not a penalty because I wasn't looking at it. Well, everyone would just turn away then. Why don't, when you stood when there's a wall where there's a free kick, everyone have the free kick taken behind you, everyone face away and put your arms out like that. And if it hits your arm, it can't even possibly be a handball, so you might as well... Like, that's not a defence. I wasn't looking. I wasn't doing my job, so you can't give it a handball. Like, that's just shit. No. Like, you put yourself in a position where your hand hit the ball and it stopped it going to a United player. Your hand is outstretched. The fact you were looking at it or not is completely irrelevant. No. It's not simply a system that's based on whether you meant it or not. You could take that
to the new level. You just do no-look handball.
That's what I'm on about.
Yeah, it's like...
Look the other way, put your hand out, fine. Like, corner's coming in, I'll look that way, just do that, pour it away. Stand on the goal line, we all face the other way, just put your hands up and stop the ball going. Like, you can't do that. No. That's a ridiculous defence. We was not looking, so it don't count. Right, well, where do we take that to then?
Read the next one. The Man City's a Kanji one for me.
Yeah, so then, again, this one is like... Either both of them or none of them have to be goals. Akanji stood in front of Leno whilst in an offside position when Aki scored the header for City. Obviously,
this is the one that, by the way, Erling Haaland said was incorrect.
He agreed it was offside.
Yeah.
Then United scored a goal like you mentioned a few minutes ago. Johnny Evans heading the ball in, and Højlund stood again. He is stood in front of the goalkeeper. I think personally, once you see the replay, rightfully offside. But we can't have that one being offside and City's not being offside.
No.
Like, we've set the precedent the week before or the day before, whenever it was, for that to be a goal. Then it comes around again and it's not a goal. It's just, it needs to both be or neither of them be. And I personally think neither of them should be a goal. But, City benefit from it and United don't. And I don't think it's a City United thing. I think it's just an incompetence thing. But it's an incompetence that's costing us points and helping City out on this occasion. It's just shit.
Yeah, it is. And on the back of some of these decisions, not all of them, other decisions as well, we've seen apologies. Yeah. So the PGMOL have come out several times this season and apologised for mistakes they've made. So this weekend we saw the Spurs beating Liverpool 2-1. Luis Diaz had a goal ruled out for Liverpool after being incorrectly ruled offside, with VAR, Darren England failing to intervene.
We'll talk about that in more detail in just a minute as well.
There was that one. There was one that went United's way. United beat Wolves 1-0. Andre Onana recklessly challenged Kaladic inside the United box, but VAR, John Moss, failed to instruct on-pitch referee Simon Hooper to check the pitch side monitor for a penalty. So there's an apology there. Do you know what I think we're suffering from? I think that's been like why we haven't got some of these decisions. Yeah. It's almost like, oh, well, they didn't get the one against Wolves that they should have got, so we're not going to give them the ones they should. It's just ridiculous.
Are these all 2023 or are they in the last 2 years? If we go to the next shot. Okay, so going back to the October 2020... Sorry, since the start of last season, so since August 2022, there's been 14 apologies.
Right,
and those
so we don't need to run through them all.
Those are just the ones that have been officially apologised for. They don't include the ones where there's a clear mistake and they just never addressed it. They didn't address the Højlund one. They didn't address officially, or certainly didn't apologise for the Romero one against United.
Are quite seminal. Like, if you scroll, move that back up where you had it. So the City one, was that the City one where it was a big point in the title race, I think, and then Everton should have had a penalty. Referee Paul Turning and VAR Chris Kavanagh missed a handball from Manchester City midfielder Rodri, failing to award Everton a penalty. Quite an important one, that, I think, in the title race at the time. Some of these ones where you look and you go, that could have made a big difference. That. And again, it boils back to the idea that, yes, decisions can go against you or they can go for you. And when it's one person making a mistake, we can live with it. But when it's a team of people with a replay or with the option of watching replay after replay and they're still getting it wrong, it's very, very difficult to stomach.
And another one, just underneath that, the Arsenal-Brentford one. Brentford scored a goal that was offside. That could have cost Arsenal the league. I know in the end it was 8 points or whatever it was, but in at the start of February, an extra 2 points would have made a massive difference to Arsenal.
Well, there you go. Like, that's within 2 weeks of each other almost.
Yeah. City get a penalty that should have been against them, not given. Yeah. And Arsenal get a goal that shouldn't have been given against them, given. And that's what, a 4 point swing there.
4 point swing. That can make a big difference. And that might have given Arsenal a bit more belief going into that final sort of furlong where they started to falter. So there's been some really big decisions here that have had repercussions.
What I'd like to know is, if anyone in the comments who's a fan of VAR, what do you like about it? What do you believe how do you think it has made football a better experience? Just what do you like about it? Other than, well, it's here to stay, so we might as well get on with it. A genuine reason why you think this has improved things. What do you think is better, and how do you think it's improved football as a whole? Get that in the comments if you believe.
Yeah, because there will be some. I presume there's going to be some people that actually like VAR or think it is a good idea. We want to hear from you, because everyone I speak to don't like it.
I don't know anyone that likes it.
And even the ones that were for it are now against it.
Yeah,
and I think it's just ridiculous.
Because even the old argument of it's not VAR that's the problem, it's the people. Well, we're beginning to realise that. Yeah, maybe even if that's the case, these are the people running it. So what are you going to do? Just have loads of mistakes because the people are bad? The options are either no VAR or this. Yeah. There isn't, as it stands, there is no option where you go, yeah, VAR is great and it runs itself. Like, VAR specialist, it may be a step towards that. But what does that look like? It's still a human being who's prone to errors.
Do you think the people aren't good enough then? Because was it the Euros where it was pretty quick and controversy free.
But again,
like, is that not a case where it was implemented well?
Maybe it was a case where it was
Was the
implemented
Euros,
well.
wasn't it? The World Cup.
So, yeah.
I think there's the Euros, and everyone went, you're getting decisions within a minute. We're not having to wait. And when you review these decisions, like on Match of the Day or whatever, or the Euros equivalent, you're looking, actually, they got it right. Like, it seems to be well done there.
Yeah.
And yet in England, in the Premier League, it's anything but, where you've got a list of apologies, a list of mistakes, and referees and assistants who are becoming famous for all the wrong reasons.
I know.
You know, is it Darren England, the bloke who's responsible this weekend?
I thought that was
I mean, he'll be trending for the rest 3 days now.
I know.
Not for good cause, because he's made a mistake. You know, Paul Turney, Jonathan Moss, we've named them all, Chris Kavanagh. These are all people who everyone knows and everyone has got an opinion on because of bad decisions and because decisions that have gone against them that shouldn't have happened. We've always known refs. Right, knowing a referee's name isn't anything new. Going back to David Ellery, like people go, oh, it's him again, or oh, it's whoever, or he always gives us a hard time, or he's great, whatever. But now it's like you don't just worry about the ref, you worry about who's on VAR. And then it was Andre Mariner last season. He was just a disaster as both a referee and then as a VAR. Yeah, well, no, he couldn't have come any sooner. He was just awful. Not a moment too soon. Sorry, he was just terrible. But it's like, you know these people for all the wrong reasons. You have this already sort of expectation that they're going to mess it up because the reputation precedes them. Resonating Silence says, people will argue it's made the game more fair, but it has also made it worse. Seth Smith, who's been a member of the Academy for 9 months, says, these LP pundits need to shh. United get screwed by VAR, not a word said. Liverpool get one call wrong and everyone questions the matrix. For G's sake.
Speaking of, Stretford Paddock, we've got some big news, haven't we?
We have got some big news, yes, because we are going to have another event, right? We did this last year around a similar time as this event, where we went over to Dublin and we had a live event. Me, Joe, McCullough, Stephen Howson on the stage doing a live event. It was amazing. It was one of the best nights ever. It really was. And last time we were joined by Brian McClare, our good friend. This time round, we've put we've put 2 links in the chat there. Forgive me, I did one. I didn't realise producer Ethan was doing one as well. We're gonna have John O'Shea joining us. So bona fide United legend, the guy who scored the winner in front of the Kop in the 93rd minute, nutmeg Figo, got a clean sheet when he went in goal at White Hart Lane. Just absolute legend who's done it all and won the T-shirt. Ireland legend as well. Yeah. So if you can get down there, get involved. I know it's going to be mint. Yeah, proper fanboy in it. I'm not even going to deny it. We're just going to fanboy it. So there's a link in the chat, link in the description as well. Click on it. If you can come down the 28th of December, show us a bit of support. We do appreciate everything you guys do for us, and it'd be great to have a live event. The last one was just such a top night, and it's always good when the 4 of us get together and then you throw in John O'Shea into the mix, a bona fide United legend, and I just can't wait. It's going to be such a good night, and I'm so looking forward to it. And hopefully, you lot will be there as well. Let's talk about this Liverpool statement.
It's been a right debacle, this, hasn't it?
Because this statement is, it's almost a threat, really. It's quite weird in the sense that it feels like it's crossed the line from going to, we're unhappy with what's gone on, to we're not having it, we're going to do something about it, whether you like it or not, and we're actually coming for you. So Liverpool released a statement, this was 21 hours ago, so after the game against Spurs, and it says, Liverpool Football Club acknowledges PGMOL's admission of their failures last night. It is clear that the correct application of the laws of the game did not occur, resulting in sporting integrity being undermined. We fully accept the pressures that match officials work under. This is where the plot thickens. But these pressures are supposed to be alleviated, not exacerbated by the existence and implementation of VAR. It is therefore unsatisfactory that sufficient time was not offered to allow the correct decision to be made and that there was no subsequent intervention. That such failings have already been categorised as significant human error is also unacceptable. Any and all outcomes should be established only by the review and with full transparency. This is vital for the reliability of future decision making as it applies to all clubs, with learnings being used to make improvements to processes in order to ensure this kind of situation cannot occur again. And then this is the bit where you feel like they're almost, threatening you.
Yeah.
In the meantime, we will explore the range of options available, given the clear need for escalation and resolution.
What do you think that means?
I think they're mobilising the troops on the border, and they're about to invade the Balkans.
It's mad that. The phrasing of that is like a government issuing that before reacted to some sort of war.
Yeah, before the first shots of artillery fire.
Yeah, Hungary, 1914.
Yeah, it's like
it's
time for escalation and resolution.
Nothing. Yeah, we have tried negotiation. That has failed. Unfortunately, it is time.
We've now gone from Desert Shield to Desert Storm.
Yeah,
we've gone from protecting our
shock and awe.
Yeah, to invasion.
Yes,
like it is quite a bizarre way to put it.
Yeah,
and they're obviously fuming. And I get it. Listen, I would be livid if I had a perfectly good goal. I mean, the Garnacho one at Arsenal was bad enough, but at least there's some point of debate there where you can go, maybe he's offside, maybe he's not.
Yeah.
There's still, it's not clear cut, but there's a chance he might be offside. Yeah. Diaz wasn't offside.
No.
There's not even a debate.
He didn't even look offside.
No, he didn't. And the fact they wouldn't even put the lines on the screen because they thought, we can't put lines on because that'll show he's not offside, and we've dropped a Rick here, says it all. So I understand, and I don't often say this, I understand why Liverpool are fuming.
Yeah.
It's just that statement
and then is
rather odd.
The explanation that came out that Darren England, who up until 2 days ago I thought was a Rowan Atkinson character, he came out and said, Johnny English or whatever his name is, came out and said, I said check over because I thought the goal had been given.
Yeah.
So actually carry on and play. There's also two people in that booth. How did neither of them know that goal hadn't been given? It wasn't difficult to work what were they not watching the game? Because we've heard from a pretty good source today as well that, I've seen some people saying that they don't believe that that's the excuse. They don't believe that he thought the game had been, the goal had been given. That they think that's a conspiracy to cover up, some more nefarious goings on. We've heard from a very good source today actually that he did think that. He just, for whatever reason, they just thought the goal had gone in. But that means they can't have been watching the game. Are they not allowed to? What was he doing? Putting in his lunch order or his dinner order? What were they doing when that goal went in for them to not know it had been not given?
Oh, come on,
What were they doing?
You've been on enough away days to know what it's like when you're absolutely all evidence sniffed out your head. And you're like, and then someone goes, "Oi, Dwight York's just got the winner," and you're
like, facing the wrong way.
What? Who are we playing? Where am I? Oh, I've wet myself
again. Am I at my house?
Yeah.
No, you're at
we've
football.
We've all done that. I slept through the 1999 FA Cup final because I had a load of painkillers and vodka. It happens.
Is that what you're saying they did?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know if you should
bang
say
at
that.
it. Yeah, it's a great game. It's God. And then someone goes, "What do you make of that?" And I go, "Yeah, it's
check over.
Yeah, it's sound."
Nah.
And then they go, you look up and you go, "Hang on a minute. Sure, the Scouts has just scored." But oh, mate, did we forget to tell him? Forget it. No one will notice.
And then to compound that, you're not allowed to, the refs who, let's not forget, run football.
Yeah.
And the rules are made by the refs.
Yeah.
They come out and say, we're not allowed to stop the game once it's started. Like it's, I don't even know, like you've just pushed a boulder off a cliff. Get that back! Oh, it's 1,000 tons and it's gone off the cliff. It's not that. Just blow your whistle and the game stops. You do it hundreds of times a game. Blow your whistle, go, sorry, we're going to have to pull it back. I know we shouldn't, but we're going to, obviously.
James Pearce has said 8 minutes ago, I don't know how new this information is, if he's breaking it or if it's out there already, Liverpool have made a formal request to PGMOL to receive the audio between referee Simon Hooper and VAR Darren England during the process that led to Luis Diaz's goal being wrongly disallowed. Imagine if we're right.
I can't wait.
And they were on it.
I can't wait.
Just steaming.
Fucking
or just watching. Imagine if you're on the phone watching, like, I don't know, Neighbours.
You just hear them chatting.
EastEnders.
Yeah.
Like, they're just on the phone.
Them to the VAR booth. Murder on the dance. Like, have you got her number?
Yeah.
Text her.
Hey, look at her. Like, just being proper just weird, pervy men.
Perverts.
Yeah. And it's like...
Not that we're saying they are these things,
no,
by the way. Just imagine if they were.
Yeah.
If you are either of those two men who's in that booth, you are shitting it. Because there's no way what's actually happened is, okay, goal given, Okay, perfect. Yeah, right. We're ready for VAR. Okay, yeah. Decision done. Carry on. There's no way it's that, because you can't have watched the game and think that happened.
I think
it's going to be so funny.
This is.
I can't wait to hear it.
This is right. A Rebecca Vardy, I've dropped my phone in the sea scenario. Right. Yeah. That is the only way out. Yeah. You go. What do you want? The audio. Oh, you'll never guess what happened. I put it on a disc. Right. All the audio, and it wasn't backed up, and then I've dropped the disc down a grid.
Yeah, this is absolute.
And I can't remember which grid it was.
Which one? I don't know. Just try it. Probably the
one in Manchester.
Yeah.
Or it might be Liverpool.
What's his name? That guy that died in prison. The
what? Ronnie Craig?
No, the one who had his own little island and that.
Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah. This is the footage.
That's the most bizarre way of describing him I've ever heard.
What? That guy who dies in prison on his little island. This is like the.
Peter
this is the CCTV footage of Jeffrey Epstein's prison cell during his death, isn't it?
Yeah.
That footage is not making the light of
No,
day.
it's not.
What happened? Oh, do you know that VAR truck drove off a cliff?
Yeah, it is that, innit?
I can't believe it. The whole truck is just
This is
gone.
Toy Story 3.
Yeah.
I pressed the wrong button and deleted it.
I mulched it.
Yeah.
I pressed mulch after we're done.
No,
was it not meant to mulch it?
Like,
I've mulched
seriously, this is the missing 16 minutes of the Nixon tapes. We're about to witness that. And the meltdown will be biblical.
Or, what I hope they do, reject the request. They're like, oh, we've made a mistake. We did it. Okay, we can officially go, no.
Imagine if they did
Fuck
that.
off.
I'd love that if they went, it sets a bad precedent if we start just dishing out audio.
Yeah.
So we're not going to do that.
What do you want next? Our national security numbers?
Yeah.
Our children's school addresses?
Yeah.
It's not happening.
It's a data protection issue.
Data protection.
Like, you just say that.
Data
protection.
Because no one knows really what data protection is. Because for some reason, the yellow pages could exist for 50 years, which has got everyone's address and phone number in it in your local area. That's legal. But for some reason, if you want to find out, what size shoe a celebrity's got for whatever purposes, you're not allowed to.
Give us your best excuses for the audio going missing. I want to hear them, right? What do you think is a good reason why this audio won't see the light of day, or why they missed it, why they missed the incident, what they're going to come out with? I want to hear. We've got some already. Dan United 94 says, Louis, I lost my balance and fell teeth first into his shoulder. Suarez levels of excuses incoming. Acorn Electric says Donald Trump's pool guy flooded the VAR server. It didn't look like a Trump move, like flooding his basement or something to get rid of all the evidence. Like, love a bit of that. Ross Murphy said, I thought that the button was send. Actually, I accidentally pressed delete. I like that one. That's a good one.
And then I accidentally right-clicked on the recycling bin and accidentally pressed delete permanently. Yeah. There's these mice. I've got an idea actually. I reckon what happened is, do you know, like every so often, as a treat for being really good, I think they get to turn the VAR truck into a Varty truck. We know with like disco balls, music, like canapes. You invite all your mates around. Do like a little party bus? They have a little Varty bus, and it's all the refs and just getting all the mates in, dealers in, just everything's going off. I reckon it was the Varty time, and people have just lost it.
Whitterbird, right, has said this, and I don't know whether she means this, but I think this would be great. Yeah. Do you remember those prank phone messages you get where it was porn?
Yeah.
Like, imagine if you just sent them the audio, it was just that. So they go, we've got the audio for you, send it. You go, right, we're going to listen to this. And it's just like that porn. You're like, what? What's this? Pranked you. Have a bit of that.
No, just send him the old Rick Astley. Yeah. Just take it back to 2008. Just never going to give you up it.
Just mess with him.
Oh, God, I love that so much.
Don't get me wrong, right? If this was United, I would be raging.
Or the sound of Gareth Bale scoring in the Champions League final against him. Just rip into him. Just go even. Just blast him away.
I used to love it. I started learning how to edit. And you do like those edits of fair play at Liverpool. This is a great goal. And you do the build up to Luis Suarez scoring, and then it changed to Gerrard slipping. I used to do that all the time. I used to love it. I'd never tire of doing that. And it'd just do something like that. Do you know what I mean? Like the first bit is like leading up to it, and the last bit is, and Gerrard slips, and then it's 1-0 to Chelsea. You're like, oh, what? How did that happen? The
PGMOL have got a chance here to do some of the greatest joking in the history of football. If they waste that because of professionalism and the sanctity of the game. Yeah. It's a disgrace. Genuinely, you won't get another chance like this. Liverpool are so mad. Yeah. They're so mad. Yeah. And let's not forget, other than 1 year, there has been 33 years of failure, or 32 years, whatever it is, of failure, that you can just pluck and reference in whatever audio you send back to them. Just do it right, please.
I'm scared for them. I'm scared for Darren England and whoever else it is.
Well, that's one point I would like to make.
I am genuinely, because... Like Liverpool, and part of it, right? I'll be honest with you.
You've said this to me before.
Like part of it, I do admire it to a certain degree, right? And I think when they do it in the right way, I think you have to admire them. And listen, I'm not going to say I love Liverpool fans here, because I don't. No. But if you look at what they went through, I'm not trying to get deep, but let's be honest. They had the government lie to them. They had the press treating them like scum, and they went through something that was horrendous. And they fought their corner for 30 odd years, whatever it was. And they fought and they fought and they fought, and they never gave up, and they got the justice. I think they're getting the justice they deserve, and fair play to them. And you see that trait in Liverpool, and you see the way they will defend their players. They will circle the wagons. They will get behind their players. And sometimes, like with the whole Suarez things, it goes too far. And other times you go, you know what? United could be a bit more like that, where when you've got a youngster or a player who is struggling or whatever, and they're like, oh, he's one of our own. Do you know what I mean? We won't have anything bad about him. We're going to get behind him. And I think there's a part of me that sort of begrudgingly admires that about Liverpool as a fan base. And I know they've been through hell to get there, but they'll do that. And you go, you know what? There's something in that. But then there's also on the flip side to it where they can just go completely the other way and like go after anyone that comes for him in a way that's like, whoa. Hang on a minute. We saw it, and I don't want to keep referencing it, but it was a good example of what happened with some of them, not with all of them, towards everywhere. They were just like, he's the Antichrist. Yeah. Now, I think this kid, Darren England, is going to get a bit of that.
Yeah. And that's the only issue I have with this, because obviously, on one hand, I've got two issues and I've got one positive.
Yeah.
One step forward, two steps backwards. Yeah. The positive is we might see some revisions to VAR, maybe change to an automatic offside system, which would have helped in this situation. Maybe or the semi-automatic offside system. Maybe remove some of that sort of interference that VAR has in football. That would be a good outcome.
Yeah.
The two bad outcomes. One is a witch hunt for these people in particular, which I don't think is fair.
No.
Because even if they've made an egregious mistake, even if were fucking about in the VAR van and were literally. Like, oh, get us more of that custard, and like they're ordering dessert, whatever it is. I don't care. Even if they were just crap, they still don't deserve to be threatened and endangered. No, which I'm not saying anyone's doing.
You're 100% right.
We've seen how these steps can happen. The other bad thing that I see, which I think is the most likely negative, is that actually what happens is Liverpool just gets slightly more favourable refereeing decisions for the foreseeable future. We saw the inverse of that when Klopp in particular, and Lampard did the same, but Klopp was sort of the spearhead, came out and moaned about how many penalties United were getting. We got one in the next 12 months or one in the next 6 months after that. If this just leads to referees being slightly more favourable to Liverpool, getting those ones where you see them given, so, not cheating, but when you see them given, they're all going Liverpool's way, or actually, well, maybe because we fear not just the sort of Twitter backlash, which everyone does, but also this official backlash that we're getting from them. And we've seen so many times referees admit, obviously you don't need to admit it, we know it, they're human, and they do sometimes make mistakes based on emotion and their standing as referees rather than what they think is objectively the right thing to do. I think the most likely scenario is Liverpool just get the rub of the green for a while. And this is what I said 2 weeks ago when we talked about VAR. That's what I think United should have done. I think United should have put a bit more pressure on, and they've done it the right way, Liverpool, because it's not Klopp making excuses. Because this is an official statement, Klopp isn't being called a mardy arse because he's not making excuses for losing. And I worried that Ten Hag would get that brush, painted with that brush of, he's just making excuses. Because they've put this out officially, it is actually the club itself, not one man. Yeah. And they'll probably get some help from this. And maybe United should have done something similar, because we could do with it. And we've seen since that one, the Romero one that I'm talking about, the handball wasn't given, we've seen more decisions go against us that could have gone either way. They're all going the wrong way.
It's annoying as well, because when Bruno said, we're going to get an apology after the Romero handball, and it was like laughed out of sound. And yeah, it was a terrible decision. Bernie 91, says 100% base bonus for refs, lose 15% for each VAR check, lose 30% for each notable mistake, and lose 100% for big clear mistakes or something similar. I think the problem is, right, if you start taking wages off referees,
bad idea.
Like, you're just going to get fewer referees willing to do this. You got to remember that a lot of referees, whether you like them or not, do this because they like football. They're not good enough to play it, so they become a referee. I'm not saying that to discredit them, but they want to be involved in football. They haven't got the skills to play football, which most people involved in football want to be players. So they go down the referee route. Now, Premier League referees getting grief is one thing, but what happens is it trickles down.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was a local reporter covering this with young lads who were getting screamed at, who were doing like under 15s and under 14 games, and getting kicked off on and by dads and people in the crowd storming onto the pitch and grabbing them and stuff like that, and youngsters who were just giving them a bit of stick and stuff. And it trickles down to, like, I know it sounds crazy, but people just think, oh, all refs are bad. I'm not having it. I'm going to give it to them. So the PGMOL, whoever it is, have got to do something about this. And while we might laugh at Liverpool and sort of revel in their misfortune, they've obviously got a case here to answer the fact that
the Diaz one is just astonishingly bad, isn't it?
It's awful. As angry as I was about the Garnacho one, which, let's face facts, right? There's an alternative universe here where that goal is given, right? We win that game. Eric Ten Hag isn't under any pressure, and he survives the end of the season no matter what, right? What could happen in the real universe is Eric Ten Hag, and I'm not saying it will happen, but there is a way that if we don't turn this season around a bit quickly, he ends up getting sacked. Yeah. Now that could have been the catalyst. That could have been a win away at the Emirates.
Because not only is it a big win, it's 3 points, it draws Arsenal closer, it gets rid of this not wanting against the top 9 thing. Yeah. It's such a massive win that would have been, and I personally think he was probably just about offside.
I do. I'm just saying, like, that could have gone. But my point is that could have, and at least the reason that I'm able to just about keep my sanity with it is I think there's a good chance it is offside. Yeah. Like, even if it's millimetres, there's a chance that is offside. If I knew for a fact it wasn't, as the Diaz one obviously isn't, to the point where they couldn't even find lines to show you to make it offside unless they bended them.
Drew him on with a highlighter that thick.
Yeah, like, I would probably be just like, what is the point anymore? Yeah. Like, what even, like, forget it. I can't be bothered because it's just beyond corrupt. So I get the reason they're fuming. It is disgusting, and even though it's Liverpool who've been affected by it, I think that they do deserve, something needs to happen here where they can come out and say, look, this is why it's happened and this is why it won't happen again. Yeah. Someone here, I can't find the chat, or someone said they were listening to Webby's Tales. That was it. Martin C says they were too busy listening to Webby's Tales on the Paddock. Webby, I think he's coming back in, Uncle Webby, on Friday. Right, Joseph, give me your Wally of the week.
It's tough, innit? I think Lady Luck, if I can be so bold. Just feel like United are a bit unlucky at the minute, and I feel like it might end up like costing Ten Hag his job. And it's not just luck. There's a lot of problems, genuine problems on the pitch and obviously off the pitch that are sort of out of Ten Hag's hands. But I just feel like if you replayed that Crystal Palace game, just honest, like simulation.
You've gone out on a limit, and I admire this about you because you've not done the populist thing. The populist thing when United lose is to chastise, criticise everyone associated with Manchester United Football Club. If you come on here and you just go, everyone's rubbish, they all want sacking, everyone will agree with you and go, you know what? Yeah, you're right. It's awful. But you said actually, if you look at the stats, look at the performance, look at certain aspects of the game. It wasn't that bad.
No, and I think, and I had the benefit, and I don't know, to be fair, it didn't have British commentary anyway because it wasn't televised in England, but I watched the game on silent, so I wasn't in, like, led anyway.
You mean with the watch along with me and Ronnie on?
Yeah, of course. But I think if you sort of put all of those chances and all of those shots and all of that possession and the XG and all of that into a simulator and did it 100 times, that exact same game again, United would win that game 60 plus times. We had more chances. We didn't have amazing chances. We weren't great. I don't think it was a very good performance. But they barely had any chances. And they won that game. And we had more good chances than they did. And we lost it. And I just think it's unfortunate that, you know, what is a mixture of some horrendous performances. I said this on the preview. Bayern was horrendous. The second half against Tottenham was horrendous. Wolves was horrendous. But there's been some, relatively bright performances in there. So Brighton was horrendous, but Burnley was okay. Both of the games against Palace were decent, and Arsenal was a decent performance as well. But they've all gone the wrong way.
Yeah.
There's no game this season where you go, except Wolves maybe, we got the rub of the green there, and I just feel like hopefully it's not going to cost Ten Hag. Hopefully it'll turn around before it's too late, because we've seen this path too many times, and as much as it pains me to say it, we're looking at the potential demise here, and I hate that. Who's your Wally of the week?
My Wally of the week. Someone, right, there's some good suggestions. Whitterbird says, can't we make Gary Neville Wally of the week for his over-the-top anti-United bias? Ross Murphy is quite deep this, but he makes good points, so I'm going to raise it. Shall I tell you Wally of the week? Or Wally's of the week with them two Sheffield Wednesday fans who mocked the Sunderland kid, Bradley Lowry, who passed away. Jesus wept. Like, what is that about? Seriously.
And
I'm not one.
Well.
Sorry.
And there's Newcastle fans as well on that video talking about Munich.
Like, yeah, we've seen that. We've seen Newcastle fans talking about Munich. We've seen these Neanderthals waving a picture of the kid who died. I mean, he's nothing off limits here. Just get a grip of yourselves. And I'm not one for going, just nick him and throw him all in jail, whatever. But they certainly need football bans because they're just disgusting. Yeah. My Wally of the week. I mean, it's not. I'm hardly going for anything much better here, or we don't want to get into which is worse. But the abuse that Destiny Udogie was getting on social media, and I'm sick of seeing this. And I'm not even saying the Wallies of the week are the people doing it, obviously they are Wallies. When a social media company is going to get a grip of this, because if I post a video or a clip of the goal from the weekend, it gets taken down like that, I'll get my account suspended. If I go and racially abuse a footballer who scored a goal against me, nothing happens, or it takes months for anything to happen. It just gets left up there, and it's just pathetic. And we see this time and time again. It's almost now, right? You don't even have to do anything bad. Just do something mildly, annoying to the opposition, and you'll see all these accounts just trolling them and using racist emojis and using racist abuse. And the social media companies are just like, come on, you can police it when it comes to copyright stuff, so you can police it with that. So you need to get a grip of it.
When it's a big company losing money, they're all over it. They can get the AI involved, then they can sniff it out a million miles away. But when it comes to someone being abused, we're not sure, we can't ban that because it's this, and this. No, just fucking sort it out. Ridiculous.
Thank you to everyone who got involved. Some really good chats there. Enjoyed that one. We're going to be back tomorrow with Galatasaray again. Tell you what,
another game.
I don't know how many games are we having here.
How long?
Sick of it.
Is the season nearly done yet?
I know. Like, do you know when you go 1-0 up after 2 minutes and you're like, right, come on, ref, blow your whistle, full time, we're done. Like, I've had enough. Fair, can we just settle for being
Champions League
10th or wherever we are?
We might win it.
Yeah,
might win it.
This might be as good as it gets. That's been Joe Smith. I've been Jay Motti. Don't forget to check out our event in Dublin on the 28th of December.
Come on.
Paddock Live with John O'Shea. There's a link in the chat and the description, so join us there. Don't forget as well, if you're not doing already, to subscribe to the channel. We're back tomorrow with the watch along. Thanks for watching.